The time has come. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris and welcome back to another video. So it's been 1 year since I posted my complete Blu-ray collection. This year it's going to be the complete Blu-ray collection for 2022. I've added quite a few movies, I would say, not as much as I would have hoped, but I definitely have some new additions here in the collection. I have it alphabetized, and then I actually have a Criterion section. My MCU is separate, and then my Disney and Pixar movies are separate as well. But before I get into this thing, make sure to hit that like button. Also, comment down below how many Blu-rays you own, as well as your favorite pickup of 2021, because I know there was quite a few cool Blu-ray releases that came out. I'm definitely gonna have to take this jacket off before I film because I'm already starting to sweat. The jacket's officially off. I'm repping Monsters, Inc. You'll see that movie in the collection here in a second. And I think a few movies are missing. Technically, I still haven't got The Gentleman back, which I'll put a picture of right here. It's been over a year and I still haven't got it back from the person I let borrow it. If you're new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. I do Blu-ray hauls, movie reviews, tons of Marvel and Star Wars content, a bunch of rankings, all the stuff that you would love as a movie fan I do on the channel. So it would mean the world if you hit that subscribe button and notification bell. But without further ado, let's conquer this Blu-ray shelf. So at the very top, I have the complete James Bond collection with all the films from Dr. No to Spectre. And over here, I've got a little DeLorean that actually does light up if I hit this button right here. It lights up when I hit that button, and it's a really cool display piece. I need to put something here to make it even. But starting in alphabetical order, I first have 8 Mile, probably the best rap movie ever. Eminem gives a really solid performance, and Lose Yourself is a song that will always motivate me no matter what. 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street, two of my favorite comedies from the past decade easily. 1917, a movie that could have won Best Picture, it didn't, but the whole one-take thing really works. It's a beautifully shot movie, and The King's Man reminded me of this quite a bit. The Alfred Hitchcock collection, featuring Rear Window, Vertigo, North by Northwest, and Psycho. Psycho is definitely my favorite from the bunch here, but all of these movies were really either good to amazing, so Hitchcock's the man. I've seen more of his movies and actually own a few that we're going to talk about here in a second. Alien, a classic. Look at that glistening slipcover. What a thing of beauty. And Aliens, I found this really cool box set on Amazon, so I had to have it. Really like the cover art here, and this movie's almost as good, if not better, than the first. American Beauty, a very somber movie, but it will make me rethink aspects of my life, and hopefully I don't have a midlife crisis. American Psycho, a movie I quote with my friends every single time we hang out, probably to an amount that is not actually healthy, but it is what it is. Animal House, a comedy classic I watched for the first time in 2020, really just a funny-ass movie. Aquaman, I think this movie gets a lot of hate. It's fine. I'm not terribly excited for the sequel. Arthur Christmas, a slept-on Christmas movie. Let's all give this a watch if you haven't seen it. They call him Baby Driver. What a bop. 1.21 gigawatts. This is one of the best trilogies ever. The third one's actually fun, even though it's the worst. And the first is an all-time classic. One of my favorite movies ever. Watched it on a plane to visit my boy Trevor from Film Geeks, and it made the ride go by so much faster. The Dark Knight trilogy with Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and this really cool digibook for The Dark Knight Rises. I still have not rewatched this trilogy, but I'm going to very soon before The Batman. Next, I have this dope BVS steelbook I found on Amazon. So boom, if you flip it over, it's got Superman and Batman. That's one of my favorite steelbooks. This is the Ultimate Edition that I watched for the first time last year, a few days after I recorded my Blu-ray collection. This movie is actually solid. I used to hate on it so much. The Ultimate Edition really does enhance it. The Big Lebowski. Smokey, this isn't Nom, this is bowling. There are rules. This movie's hilarious. One of the funniest comedies of all time. Like, it has me laughing from start to finish more than most movies. The Big Sick, my introduction to Kumail Nanjiani. Of course, he's in Eternals now, and he's becoming a megastar. This movie is so sweet, and it's just really funny as well. You should watch it if you haven't seen it. Big Trouble in Little China, 80s classic. I had to turn my fan on because it got really hot in here, so hopefully that doesn't affect the audio too much. But starting the next section off is Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, a title that's a little pretentious, but a movie that's really well done. Alejandro González Iñárritu won the director Oscar nomination for this. He's very well deserved that Oscar win, and I really like the red case. Look at the bottom, boom. Birds of Prey, one of my favorite DCEU movies. Boogie Nights, this movie is a masterpiece, honestly. PTA's best, and I don't know if he'll ever top it. The Bourne trilogy, these are the only ones I own, the only ones I need to own or acknowledge. Braveheart, I could quote most of this movie. You want to check out my last year's Blu-ray collection, and I actually did. The Breakfast Club, a classic that's slightly overrated. Bullet, a really great car chase in this movie, arguably the best ever. You should check it out. Steve McQueen is the king of cool. Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid. Every time people watch Spider-Man 2, they always talk about the song, "The Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head." Well, this movie started that song, so you got to check this out if you want to honor Spider-Man 2. Casablanca. Here's looking at you, kid. Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine. Classic. Casino Royale. I rewatched this before No Time to Die, and this movie slaps. Castaway, Wilson! Classic Tom Hanks. Catch Me If You Can, another great Tom Hanks flick, and Spielberg directed this. I feel like I always forget about it. Christmas Vacation, overrated, but it's fine. Clueless, look at this steelbook. It's honestly ugly, but not ugly at the same time. This is one of my favorite like chick flick type movies. It's really good. Collateral, a movie I watched for the first time last year, and man, is it awesome. Tom Cruise gives a fantastic villainous performance, and it's just one of the sleekest movies I've seen. What we've got here is failure to communicate. Classic. Creed and Creed 2. We're getting Creed 3 this year. I'm excited for that. Cruella, one of my favorite movies from the year. I think this is the best Disney live-action remake. And look at this cool cover I got. Deadpool and Deadpool 2, both movies hilarious, hard R comic book movies. We need more like that. And I think Deadpool 3 is coming very soon. The Departed, my favorite Scorsese, I think. Die Hard, a Christmas classic. Die Hard 2, Die Harder, I actually like this movie quite a bit. And Die Hard 3, almost my favorite Die Hard movie. I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. Disaster Artist, a movie about The Room. What a movie. Django Unchained, one of my favorite Tarantinos. Dodgeball, a comedy classic. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Donnie Darko, a movie that's confusing as hell, but it's honestly a masterpiece, I think. I really do have to watch this more and more and understand it more. I watched it 2 days in a row the first time I saw it. The theatrical cut, then the director's cut, and it made a lot more sense. I only have the slip here because someone's borrowing the actual physical copy, but Dunkirk, a Nolan movie that he probably should have won director for. Elf, the actual music that plays like over the intro of this is trending on TikTok right now, but long before that, it's always got me in the holiday spirit. E.T., classic, and I love the ride at Universal. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I can't talk about this one. The Fighter, what a performance by Christian Bale, but also Wahlberg. This is a very inspirational movie. First Man, my least favorite Chazelle. Ford v Ferrari, a gorgeous steelbook. This is also one of those uplifting sports biopic movies. We need more of them. Forrest Gump, a classic. I love this movie. Frosty the Snowman. Get Out. I cannot wait for Jordan Peele's Nope that comes out in July. Gifted. This is the first movie so far that I haven't seen in the collection. Cam got this for me, and it's on my watch list. I just have to check it out soon. Gladiator. Man, this movie rocks. I really hope we don't get a sequel because I don't really know how I feel about Ridley Scott right now. The Godfather trilogy. I have not seen part 3 yet. I still have to watch it, but I plan to rewatch this trilogy hopefully sometime this year. The first 2 are all-time greats. Gone Girl, Fincher back at it again with the reverse slipcovers for some reason. Good Will Hunting, a top 10 all-time movie for me. It seriously never fails to put inspiration in me, and I feel like really resonant with certain aspects of this movie, especially when it comes to chasing my dreams and not having regret. Goodfellas. Gotta talk like this when I talk about Goodfellas. Green Book, an overhated Best Picture winner. And The Green Mile, a very emotionally heavy movie. I'm sweating profusely right now. I wish you guys could see my face because it's getting like I just ran a mile, but here we go. Hacksaw Ridge, Andrew Garfield gives one of his best performances here, one of the better war movies in recent years. The original Halloween, which I actually think is a little overrated, and Halloween 2018, which is fine, but Halloween Kills is garbaggio. The Hangover, I actually added this one to the shelf recently. This is a really funny comedy that I watched with my friends for the first time this year. The Harry Potter collection, these movies give me nostalgia, even though I didn't watch them until I was 18 for the first time. The 20th anniversary reunion made me want to immediately book a trip to Universal and have that escapism into Hogwarts and Diagon Alley again, because this is the most magical franchise ever, I would say. The Hateful Eight might be my least favorite Tarantino, but it still has great aspects. Heat is a movie that has some of the most realistic gunfire I've ever seen, and it really adds to the reality of the situation, especially the heist scenes. This movie is special. You got to watch if you haven't seen it. Hell or High Water. I got to rewatch this because I didn't dig it the first time I saw it in theaters, but I want to give it another chance. I got it on Black Friday for cheap. Holes. This is like a massive part of my childhood. Zero. Great movie. Home Alone, the best Christmas movie of all time, and Home Alone 2, damn near the best Christmas movie of all time. Both these back-to-backs, the best holiday double feature. Hoosiers. The only version of The Grinch I acknowledge, the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I, Tonya. I think that Margot Robbie should have won the Oscar for this, and I think Sebastian Stan should have been nominated. Inception, my favorite Nolan movie. Look at that steelbook. The Indiana Jones collection. Raiders, one of my favorites of all time. Crusade rocks. Temple of Doom is dark as hell, but I dig it. And Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is overhated, but it's not great. I just have nostalgia for it. Inglourious Bastards. Au revoir, Shoshana. Gorlami. Antonio Margheriti. Damn near my favorite Tarantino. Interstellar on 4K. I had to upgrade to 4K because look at that slip. I need to rewatch this soon. The score helps me work out and chase my dreams in life. The Invisible Man, one of the better horror movies in recent years. The first It, shout out Trevor for sending this over to me. I like the first one way better than part 2, so I don't own part 2. It's a Wonderful Life. Shout out Nathan Hale, his favorite movie of all time. I gotta give this one a rewatch soon, but man, is it a classic. And Jackie Brown, an underrated Tarantino flick. Jaws, one of my favorites of all time. The most fun I've had with a video, I think, on the channel might be when I showed my girlfriend Cam this movie for the first time. Joker. How about another joke, Murray? The Karate Kid. I know I gotta watch Cobra Kai. I have not seen it yet. Everyone always tells me that. I'll get around to it eventually. Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2. I like Volume 1 better, but they're both really solid together. The Kingsman movies on 4K. I love these movies. I watched them for the first time last month, so I had to go get them on 4K. I bought these like 2 days ago. Knives Out. Man, this movie is one of the best from 2019. Such an original concept that we don't really get in Hollywood nowadays. La La Land, a top 15 all-time movie for me, I would say. Really holds a special place in me and my girlfriend's hearts. Les Mis, this is a musical bop. I really love listening to the soundtrack. You know nothing of my life. All I did was steal some bread. 24601. Little Woman, the ugliest cover for a Blu-ray I think I've ever seen, especially for how great the posters are. Also, Happy Birthday, Florence Pugh. Really need to rewatch it soon. Logan, man, what a great way to send off that character. Lord of the Rings 3-film collection. I will rewatch these before the new show comes out this year, I promise. The Magnificent Seven, one of the first Westerns I ever saw, and the remake, which I actually like quite a bit. Magnolia, great PTA flick. Tom Cruise should have won an Oscar. The Martian. Mary Poppins, I love this steelbook. And Mary Poppins Returns, not as good, but still solid. Mean Girls, say what you will, this movie is honestly hilarious. Memento, a mind-bending movie that I gotta give another watch, probably before next Nolan movie. Mid-90s, one of the most underrated movies of the past decade. Jonah Hill killed it here. Really great coming-of-age story. And Miracle, easily my favorite hockey movie of all time, but my second or third favorite sports movie ever. The scene where they keep running after the game until Mikey Ruzioni says, "I play for the United States of America," gives me chills every time. Also, if you need to get motivation, just watch Coach Herb Brooks' speech at the end of this movie. Great moments are born from great opportunity. So next we have Mission Impossible 1 through 5. I like all these movies. 2 is definitely the worst. And then Fallout. Mission Impossible 7 comes out this year. So stoked for that. Moneyball, my second favorite Aaron Sorkin movie that he has wrote, and my second favorite sports movie of all time, I would say. This movie is phenomenal. Mystic River is dark as hell, but Sean Penn and Tim Robbins both won Oscars, rightfully so. This movie is very eerie, very creepy, but if you can get past certain elements that are really dark, it's well worth the watch. Welcome to Jurassic Park, the only Jurassic Park movie I own. National Treasure, one of my favorite movies of all time. I always gush about it. You guys have to check this out if you haven't seen it. The nostalgia is real. Grew up on this one, seen it 20 plus times, absolutely adore it. And then Book of Secrets. I actually went on Chris Hurtado's podcast, Inside the Sequel, and had a great discussion about this one. An underrated sequel because I think that it's almost as good as the first. It just misses a few key elements the first had, but it's a great follow-up. No Country for Old Men is fantastic. Might be the best Coen Brothers movie, not my favorite, but maybe the best. No Time to Die. Talk about a send-off for James Bond. This was in my top 10 of last year. Old School. You're my boy, Blue. Hilarious movie. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. There you have it. I have the poster right there. You're Rick Dalton. Don't you forget it. The Other Guys might be the funniest comedy I've ever seen, aside like from The Big Lebowski and Superbad. This is one of my favorite comedies ever. Parasite, a Best Picture winner. The Peanuts Holiday Collection. Charlie Brown Christmas is the best. The Curse of the Black Pearl. Dead Man's Chest. And At World's End. The only Pirates of the Caribbean movies that exist. The other 2 are not even real, and I don't even know what I'm talking about because I've never even heard of them. I have seen them, and they're almost unwatchable. The Planet of the Apes trilogy with Rise, Dawn, and War. I like this trilogy a lot. I haven't seen it since 2017, so I'm going to rewatch them before the Batman because Matt Reeves directed Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes. So I want to give you guys my ranking and really revisit this trilogy. Point Break. Utah. Give me 2. Gary Busey's really funny in this movie, but also shocked at how great this story is. Like, I was invested from start to finish. Talk about a great 90s action flick. The Polar Express, a great steelbook for a Christmas classic that I grew up with. The nostalgia is real here. And The Prestige, my second favorite Christopher Nolan movie. Here's a midway update. If you're still watching, comment down below, hashtag Spider-Man No Way Home. All right, moving down another level, we've got Prisoners, Denis Villeneuve's best movie by far, and one of the best movies from the past decade. Both these dudes on the cover should have been nominated for Oscars. Pulp Fiction, this movie is a classic, and it's arguably Tarantino's best movie, like objectively. It gets associated with like film bro culture so much, but if you just watch the movie, it's really well done. I like the movie quite a bit, and it's like a dad movie too that like all dads love. It's a classic for a reason. A Quiet Place, look at that steelbook. And the steelbook for A Quiet Place Part 2, a sequel that's almost as good as the first. A little bit less, I would say, but I like them both quite a bit. They're a great duology. Remember the Titans, my favorite sports movie of all time, and in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. We will be perfect in every aspect of the game. You drop a pass, you run a mile. You miss a blocking assignment, you run a mile. You fumble the football, I will break my foot off in your John Brown hind parts, and then you will run a mile. Perfection, just like this movie. Reservoir Dogs, Tarantino's first and one of his best. Rocket Man burning out his fuse, I'm here alone. I love this movie. It should have been nominated for way more Oscars, and Taron Egerton should have been nominated. It is a crime that he was not. Rocky 1 through 6, the first one's an all-time great. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus is coming to town. The Santa Claus 2, The Santa Claus 3. The first one's the best. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies ever. The second one is really solid and really has the most heart in the franchise. And the third is fine. I still really like it. The greatest war movie of all time on 4K, Saving Private Ryan. So I have a Saw Steelbook here that is dope. But I also have Saw 1 through 7. So I own Saw twice because I'm a pretty big Saw fan, at least the first one. One of the craziest twists in movie history, one of the best straight up horror thrillers ever. The sequels get kind of progressively worse, but the first 3 are the best. And then you've got Spiral from the Book of Saw, which is actually probably my second or third favorite in the franchise. Really dig this slipcover. I think it's sick. And this movie honestly took me by surprise. It's one of the most surprising movies of last year. School of Rock, and if you wanna be a teacher's pet. Love this one. Scream. Do you like scary movies? Hello, Sydney. Can't wait for the new one that comes out in like 2 weeks. I also need to own the other Scream movies. I just don't really know where to find them for a good deal. Shawshank Redemption, a movie everyone has to see at some point in their life. It's #1 on IMDb for a reason. It's a great film. Not one of my favorites, but a great. Shazam, I love that slipcover. She's the Man. Judge me however you want. This movie is really well written and it's funny as hell. The Shining. Here's Johnny. Shooter is like a guilty pleasure for me because I know it doesn't have good critical reviews, but I have a blast watching this movie. It's one of the first R-rated movies I saw, and I just thought Bobby Lee Swagger was one of the coolest characters. Silver Linings Playbook. My gosh, both these people should have won Oscars. Jennifer Lawrence did, but Bradley should have. Any other year, he might have. Singing in the Rain, an absolute classic musical, maybe the best musical ever. Sky High. This movie is one from my childhood that I always loved. It freaked me out at the end when I was little, but I've rewatched it a ton recently, and it holds up. It's really a solid coming-of-age flick that you should all check out or revisit if you haven't seen it in years. Skyfall, which I already own in the Bond set. The Social Network. Who would have thought we would live in an age where an audio from this is a thirst trap on TikTok? It's honestly a damn shame because that's one of my favorite movies of all time and always has been since I first saw it. The hills are alive with the sound of music. Rest in peace, Christopher Plummer. This is just one of those pure nostalgia, make you feel good, make you happy musicals that everyone should see. Spectre, again, I already own this in the Bond set. I might try and sell that. Speed. This is one of the coolest 90s action movies. It's so over the top and crazy, but Keanu has so much fun in the role. It's an action fun time. I watched this for the first time in a hotel room in California when I was 13 years old waiting to go to Disneyland because my internal clock was not set, so I thought it was 8:30 when it was really 5:30, so I had some time to kill. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy is pure nostalgia, but it's also the first Spider-Man entries we ever got. I will always love this trilogy. Even the third one has its highlight moments for me. I am so happy with Spider-Man No Way Home. That's all I'm going to say, but you guys should check out all my Spider-Man content. I have a ton of it on the channel. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, we're getting a sequel finally this year. Arguably the best Spider-Man movie ever made. A Star is Born should have won Best Picture, Director, Actor, Actress, all these awards, but it only took home Best Song, which was upsetting. Star Wars: The Complete Saga, which is the prequels and the originals. The original trilogy is my favorite trilogy of all time. And A New Hope is my favorite movie of all time. Boom. The Force Awakens, I think this is the movie I might have the most nostalgia for. I'll never forget opening night. It was my first Star Wars movie in the theaters, and man, did it rock. The Last Jedi, one of the most upsetting movies of all time. And The Rise of Skywalker, one of the worst movies of all time. It's really crazy how this trilogy worked out. I only own Rise of Skywalker because I'm an absolute completionist. I don't like this movie at all. And Solo's actually fun. I need to give this one another watch soon. Step Brothers is one of my favorite comedies. It's one that I watched in high school a ton. Steve Jobs, another underrated Aaron Sorkin script. I mean, this movie is insanely good, and I think Michael Fassbender should have won the Oscar over Leo this year because he crushes it. The Suicide Squad, we don't talk about the 2016 version. This is the only Suicide Squad that's ever existed in my mind, and this is one of my favorites of 2021. Superbad. I've said this is my favorite comedy before, and damn it, I think it is. It's also a great coming-of-age movie. Talladega Nights. If you ain't first, you're last. Taxi Driver is a classic Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro collab, and the score for this movie is phenomenal. Ted is all right. I don't even know why I own it. I think I bought it for like $5 one day. I might sell it. Tenet is a great Nolan movie that's underrated. I feel like not a lot of people like this one when it came out in 2020, but it's like a puzzle, and by the time I got to the end and put all the pieces together, it was so gratifying. The Thing by John Carpenter, this movie makes you feel so cold when you watch it. It's got some of the best practical effects ever, and it's one of the scariest horror movies ever, probably, just because of how the practicality works. This Is the End is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. It made me almost pee my pants the first time I watched it. 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri probably should have won Best Picture in 2017 between this or Get Out. Shape of Water took home the award, but you just gotta watch this movie if you haven't seen it. Titanic is got this weird sticky goo on the bottom that I've tried to get off, it just never works. But this is a Best Picture winning classic that I have to own, but it's not a movie I want to rewatch all that much because it's 3 hours and 15 minutes, but it's well worth watching at least once in your life. Top Gun is an 80s classic that's just such a fun time, and we're finally getting the sequel this year that's been delayed multiple times. I think it's going to be better than this almost. King Kong ain't got shit on me. Training Day is just a dope movie. You got to check it out. Tropic Thunder is a movie that would never happen today, but it is one of the raunchiest comedies I've ever seen, and it is absolutely hilarious. The Truman Show, I think this is Jim Carrey's best performance. It's a really thought-provoking movie, and it's one that makes me think, am I being recorded as my life a TV show? Am I Jim Carrey in this movie? The world may never know. Uncut Gems, Adam Sandler's best performance, I think, besides Punch Drunk Love. This Is How I Win. Us, a gorgeous steelbook. This is a Jordan Peele movie, and it's not as good as Get Out, but it's really creepy. Maria, I just met a girl named Maria. I love this movie to death. It's my favorite version. I like the new one, but this is just better in my opinion. Whiplash is in my top 5 or 10 of all time. Every time I rewatch it, I love it more. The finale is one of the best in movie history. The music slaps, and J.K. Simmons gives a career best performance. Not quite my tempo. White Christmas is a really great Christmas musical, one of the rare few. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is a classic must-watch, and Pure Imagination is one of my favorite songs. It's actually inspired the outro music that I found on YouTube. Every time I see this, I think of the Great Movie Ride, rest in peace, that movie's gone, it was at Disney World, but The Wizard of Oz is one of those rare classics that everyone probably loves. The Wolf of Wall Street is one of Scorsese's better movies, and it's one of his newer movies. This is almost Leo's best performance, it might just be. Wonder Woman, one of my favorite DCU movies. We don't talk about that sequel. X-Men First Class and X-Men Days of Future Past and Apocalypse, but it only says 2 film collection because I bought this weird thing. But it has First Class, Apocalypse, and Days of Future Past in it. Days of Future Past might be my favorite X-Men movie. Apocalypse, I need to own the other X-Men movies. I'll probably get them by the end of the year. And the last alphabetical title is Zombieland. Really funny comedy. Haven't seen part 2. All right, so I've gotten low enough on the shelf where I don't have to hold the tripod anymore, which is a blessing. But here are my Walt Disney animated classics, as well as the live-action counterpart remakes, if they so deserve to be there. I don't actually have Cruella here. I might need to move it there, but I'll hold this so it doesn't fall over. But here we go. So they're in release date order. So we have Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the OG. Pinocchio. Jiminy Cricket's one of the best Disney sidekicks. Peter Pan, this movie is so nostalgic. 101 Dalmatians, Cruella de Vil, Cruella de Vil. I really like this one. The Jungle Book, one of my favorite Disney animated movies growing up. Wanna Be Like You and Bare Necessities are 2 of my favorite Disney songs. Then the Jungle Book remake, this is one of the solid Disney live action remakes, arguably the best. The Little Mermaid, a classic with one of the best Disney soundtracks. Beauty and the Beast, a Best Picture nominee, what a great movie that is. And the live-action remake on Steelbook. I think this is one of the better live-action remakes, probably top 3. Aladdin is a classic that Genie, Robin Williams, rest in peace. I mean, everything about this movie works. One of the best soundtracks as well, but then again, it's Disney, so all the soundtracks slap. The Lion King's my favorite animated movie of all time, my favorite Disney movie of all time. It will never be topped. I grew up watching this all the time. I had a DVD. I loved the sequels. Everything about this movie worked for me. The score by Hans Zimmer is phenomenal. Like, King of Pride Rock is so uplifting. It's a great, great movie. Tangled, one of the best recent Disney movies. Wreck-It Ralph, I have fun with this one. The sequel, I do not like at all. Frozen, another soundtrack that slaps. Moana, a gorgeous animated movie with some really great music and an awesome, empowering story. Then Raya and the Last Dragon is the last one I own. I love this steelbook, and I had a really fun time in theaters with this one. It was one of the first movies I saw in theaters after they opened. So next we have the MCU starting in release date order. First up is going to be Iron Man, one of the top 5 MCU movies to this day. Every day in 4th grade when I came home, I watched this multiple days in a row for weeks. It's classic. The Incredible Hulk with this really cool slipcover. The movie is one of the bottom tier MCU, unfortunately. Iron Man 2, a movie that I have nostalgia for, but it's not very good. Thor is like bottom to middle of the road MCU. It's fine, especially at first, but it kind of falls off as the movie progresses. Captain America: The First Avenger, one of those classic theater experiences I had with the MCU, and one of the OG MCU movies. The Avengers is a historic movie, as we got to see these characters team up for the first time on the big screen, and I saw this movie multiple times in theaters. It's the first time I ever did that. Iron Man 3 was disappointing to me, but it's fine. The worst MCU movie, Thor: The Dark World. Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I think this is an overrated MCU movie, but it's still top 10. The OG Guardians is a top 5 MCU movie. Avengers: Age of Ultron with the red case. I think this is one of the more slept on MCU movies. It's disregarded a bunch, but it's a really fun MCU movie. It introduced Wanda and Quicksilver. Clint has some great moments here. It's really solid. Ant-Man with the black case. This is almost a top 10 MCU movie for me. Just a fun heist vibes. Paul Rudd can do no wrong. Civil War, one of the staples for the MCU. Are you Team Iron Man or Team Cap? I'm Team Iron Man. Doctor Strange. Getting a new one this year. Can't wait for it. Guardians 2. I don't really love this movie, but I own it. Spider-Man: Homecoming. I love this movie. It's in the top 10 MCU for me, and it's one of the better Spider-Man movies. Thor: Ragnarok, a ton of fun, but it kind of falls for me the more I think about it. Really ready for Love and Thunder. Black Panther. This steelbook is so clean. Avengers: Infinity War, one of the best theatrical experiences I've ever had. I'll always cherish this movie. Ant-Man and the Wasp, kind of a deflation period after Infinity War. It was all right. Captain Marvel, not my favorite. Bottom 3 MCU. Avengers: Endgame and Avengers: Endgame again. I had to double dip on this. This is a theatrical event that I will never forget and will always cherish. It is a perfect conclusion to the Infinity Saga. And then Far From Home, which is technically a part of the Infinity Saga, but I like this movie. It's overhated. I rewatched it and it went up quite a bit on my MCU ranking. Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio has so much fun in the role. And the newest additions to the family are Black Widow on 4K with a gorgeous slipcover. I have a ton of fun with this movie. It's a comfort movie for me. And Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, one of the best movies of last year, one of the best MCU movies, and a total blast that you have to check out if you haven't seen it. If you're still watching, comment down below, #Marvel. I actually have this Monsters, Inc. canister here separating Pixar and the MCU. So for the purposes of this video, I had to move those movies out of the way. But here are the Pixar movies that I own, starting with Toy Story, an all-time classic. Toy Story 2, a great sequel. Toy Story 3, the best Toy Story movie. And Toy Story 4, which is an unnecessary movie that's fallen a lot for me. It's okay. Really just not necessary. Monsters, Inc. Look at that gorgeous steelbook. This is a top 5 Pixar movie for sure. The score slaps for this movie too. Finding Nemo, childhood classic. Finding Dory, an alright sequel. The Incredibles, one of the best. I love this movie, and especially the Incredicoaster at Disneyland. That thing is sick. And Incredibles 2, a great follow-up. I hadn't rewatched this one since last year, since theaters actually, and it is almost like a top 10, if not number 10 Pixar movie. It is so original, and I hope we get a third one at some point. Ratatouille, the gold standard for Pixar, right along Toy Story 3. This movie, I never thought I'd be saying this, but it makes you want to chase your dreams and go out there and live your best life based on a rat cooking. You'd never think you'd be saying that, but this is a gorgeous steelbook. Up is one of the better Pixar movies, and that's just an iconic image right there. Michael Giacchino got an Oscar for his score, rightfully so. This movie will make you cry every time, especially in the first 10 minutes. But the adventure after that really hits home. Adventure is out there. Up is also my girlfriend's favorite Pixar movie. Inside Out, one of the most original concepts Pixar has ever done. I hope we get a sequel sometime. Coco is a really sad Pixar movie, but it's a fun adventure. And then Onward, one of the most underrated Pixar gems out there. I love this movie, especially because I have an older brother, so I could really relate to it. Onward slaps. All right, so now we're in the Criterion section. I don't have the biggest Criterion collection, but I am happy with the ones I own. I usually try and pick up a few every year. They're organized by spy number, and then I have 2 at the end that I want to talk about separately. But starting us off is Seven Samurai, an all-time classic by Akira Kurosawa, 3.5-hour epic that set the stage for a lot of plots we see in like Star Wars and other films like that, where a small group of heroes has to save a village or a town or city from a group of bandits or villains. It is a must-watch, essential movie at some point in your life, and it's a gorgeous-looking Blu-ray. I'm so happy to own this one. It's one of my favorite Criterion boxes. Next, we have Silence of the Lambs. One of the best performances put to screen is Anthony Hopkins in this movie. He is so terrifying as Hannibal Lecter. And this movie, while it's not like strictly horror, it's more of a thriller, it's still terrifying. Hidden Fortress is a great Akira Kurosawa movie that actually inspired Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope, especially the opening. There's so many parallels there. One day I might make a video essay about it, but I've seen George Lucas get interviewed about this movie and how he talks about it being such an inspiration for him, which obviously means I'm going to be a pretty big fan of this one. Next, we have Notorious, an Alfred Hitchcock movie that's filled filled with suspense. As the man's nickname would suggest, he is the master of suspense for a reason. I think Cary Grant's one of the best classic Hollywood actors of all time. Almost a perfect movie. Next is Dazed and Confused. I had the regular Blu-ray, but I had to upgrade to the Criterion because I love the movie so much. It's probably my favorite hangout coming-of-age movie ever, and McConaughey's first role. It's just a lot of young, famous actors nowadays are in this one. It's got a soundtrack that slaps. I wish The Curious Case of Benjamin Button had a clear case, but life goes on. One of Fincher's best movies. It shows Benjamin Button's life play out much like Forrest Gump in this epic way. He goes through all these different encounters, and I just love seeing someone's life story play out. It's a very, very clever movie. Hits hard, honestly. Like, I got teared up a few times. 12 Angry Men is one of the definitive movies, especially to own on the Criterion Collection. I need to give this one a rewatch very soon. Following is Nolan's first movie. I own it because of that. The Man Who Knew Too Much. I bought this thinking it was the James Stewart version of the Alfred Hitchcock film, but it turns out Alfred Hitchcock made this movie in 1934 and then remade it with James Stewart. This was fine. I don't know if I'll watch it ever again. I might sell it, but it was worth one watch, I would say. On the Waterfront, Marlon Brando gives one of his best performances. Might be better than The Godfather here. And I've always found the story pretty intriguing when it comes to the union workers and the dock and everything going down. I need to give it another watch soon. Punch Drunk Love, a PTA movie, one of his better movies, I would say. Adam Sandler does a serious role really well here. I love the ending of this movie. It's just a quirky romance that shouldn't really work, but it ends up being pretty compelling. Also, Philip Seymour Hoffman is hilarious in this one. The Princess Bride's an 80s classic that I was late to the party on, but I've seen it a few times and I really dig it. In the Heat of the Night, Sidney Poitier gives a fantastic performance here. And it was a movie that I found really intriguing because of the way it portrays race conflict in the South during the 60s, but also the actual mystery and suspense vibe works for me. The Grand Budapest Hotel is my favorite Wes Anderson movie by a long shot, and it's one of the few that I feel like most mainstream audiences actually like. The Great Escape, one of the best war movies ever made. Steve McQueen is the king of cool, like I said earlier in this video, and this is one of those first movies I remember watching with my dad at a young age that made me kind of look at movies differently. I also love how it's referenced in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Everything about this movie works. It is an epic prison break war movie that everyone should see. Next is Scorsese's The Irishman. I love the cover for this one. I don't know if it would be top 5 Scorsese for me, but it's really just monumental that we got to see these legends in the mob movies come together and make a movie with a legendary mob director in Scorsese. Fast Times at Ridgemont High, I watched this for the first time when I bought it last year, and man, was it fun. These are the types of movies that I like. Dazed and Confused, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, like those coming-of-age high school hangout movies is one of my favorite genres. And these last two are not in order with the spine numbers because I haven't seen them yet. They're still in the wrapping. Pan's Labyrinth I bought with the intention of doing a reaction video for, so I have to find time to watch this at some point. I have not seen it. I've heard great things. I know Josh from Cinecreep has recommended it. And then, of course, Failsafe, a Sidney Lumet film. He also directed 12 Angry Men and Dog Day Afternoon, which are two movies I actually really like. So I gotta give this one a watch sooner rather than later, and then I'll have seen all the Criterions that I own. I also own Stranger Things Season 1 and 2 on Blu-ray. They're in these cool VHS sets, but it's the whole season on Blu-ray. And over here I have Breaking Bad, the complete series on Blu-ray, as well as El Camino on Steelbook. Whew, we have officially made it to the end of my 2022 Blu-ray collection. I'm sweating profusely. I'm gonna go edit this and post this right away. But if you made it to the end of this video, thank you very much. I own a lot of movies. I'll probably have more next year, hopefully. Did anyone count how many movies I have? Individual movies, not actual cases, but like the individual movies. If you did, you're a real one. Let me know in the comments down below because I'm very curious. What's your favorite movie or set that I own? Let me know that as well. And make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I do Blu-ray videos like this once a year, but I also have Blu-ray hauls throughout the year and Blu-ray hunts I do. Tons of movie reviews, rankings, all that good stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching. Happy New Year. Expect a movie room tour coming very soon. I'm exhausted. I'm going to go edit this. Thank you again for watching. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. And if you made it to the very end, comment down below, #Blu-ray collection.